Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. USB-C dongles, more specifically 4.4 or 2.5 balanced dongles. Are they worth it? These are my honest audiophile impressions. Dongles. They come in all shapes and sizes, price points, and designs, different types of technology on the inside. Which one should you get? Why should you get it? Well, most obviously, the reason why you should get it is if you use your phone for your musical source, more than likely you don't have a headphone output if it is a newer phone. So you're going to need some way of connecting your wired devices, and that's where a dongle comes into play. Also, maybe your phone doesn't have the best output from the headphone jack that it does have, and you want to upgrade that. That's another reason to get a dongle. Should you get single-ended or balanced? Kind of depends on what you are going to be using it for and how much power you need. Do you really need balanced when it comes to a dongle? We're going to discuss that today. And I do have 4 devices here that we're going to talk about. Mainly, we're going to focus on the Moondrop Dawn. But we're also going to kind of compare it to the Shanling UA3, the Hidizs S9 Pro, and the Hiby FC4. Now, some of these have been mentioned previously on the channel, some have not. And we will continue to do dongle topics going forward, so I'm sure that they'll get mentioned again. All right, so the Moondrop Dawn. This comes in this nice little tin. It says Moondrop Dawn on the front. You get some specs on the back. And also, when you open it up, you get some paperwork, and you also get an adapter to go from USB-C to regular USB if you want to use it with a laptop. The Dawn itself is a little bit on the chunky but small side. Cylinder, 4.4 only. Attached cable going into USB-C. And it's got this clear kind of design and casing at the termination to USB-C, and you can kind of see what's going on the inside, which is a nice touch. Very little branding on the front. And the Dawn will set you back about $70. It is fully balanced, and it has dual CS43-131 DAC chips, which are Series Logic. It weighs about 13.7 grams, and you can upgrade it in firmware via the USB-C into the PC. And then it has a high gain low switch if you use the Moondrop Link app. And it may or may not be compatible with all devices, so do check the list, and you would be able to determine whether or not it is compatible. Because of that reason, we are going to do all sound impressions as a plug-and-play device instead of worrying about changing the compatibility and high gain. And the reason being is my OnePlus 9 Pro does not work with the app. All right, so power requirements. The frequency response is 7 Hz to 90 kilohertz. It has 0.00017% of SNR, or excuse me, of THD, and then SNR is 132 dB. And the line output, if you can get those gain switches to work, is on low gain it's 2 VRMS and at 4 VMRS on high gain. And then the maximum output is 230 milliwatts at 32 ohms. And it's 54 milliwatts at 300 ohm. So the Moondrop Dawn, it has enough power to run the majority of IEMs. Some of the harder to drive stuff, like planar IEMs, it does struggle a little bit. Now, it will power them to volume. That will not be a problem. But you will not get the full experience of planar IEMs because it's not giving it enough current and drive. It'll lack a little bit of detail. It'll be a little bit boomy in the bass, and the treble may be a little bit on the bright, shrill, and hot side. So, and there might be moments of sibilance. So do keep that in mind when using a dongle. It does not matter which one it is. With a planar IEM, it's going to lack a little bit. They do work better with somewhat easier to drive products. But for the most part, it will get it to volume. Plugging in your planar IEM to a desktop setup will change the experience, and you will notice a difference. All right, so how does the Dawn sound? Dawn is very clean. It's very, how do I put it? Very analytical, but yet natural sounding. It has fantastic bass, very good authority, and it has a nice tone and timbre throughout. Overall, the bass is punchy and it's slamming, and it's got good girth. You can get some rumble and grumble down below depending on what IEMs you're using. And overall, it just is an engaging but yet accurate analytical bass. You get good details, good resolution, but yet at the same time, it has a natural approach to things with good power and authority. The mids are the same way. You get very good tone, timbre, excellent natural presentation, very good separation throughout, and it has an authority and a presence to it without being overbearing or being boring sounding, unless your IEMs come across that way. And it just has a very pleasant and accurate and true sound. Treble is very well extended. It has nice air and very good separation throughout, and it has a sparkle and an energy, and it just stays natural sounding with that overall detailed analytical approach. Soundstage is very well done with the Dawn. Everything is nice and wide and accurate. You can decipher whether or not it's a small, medium, or large soundstage. Does good job with depth and layering, and imaging is really spot on. And I really enjoy the sound of the Dawn. I used it with all sorts of IEMs. I tested it with a CTM DaVinci 10 and the ADV M5 12D, and also several other IEMs like the C Audio Bravery and the Moondrop Kato, the Moondrop Blessing 2, and many others. And I truly enjoyed the Dawn very much. And I found that it was able to work with any sort of IEM and be happy and content and just please my ears. When it came to the other dongles that I have here, the Hiby FC4. Now, the Hiby FC4 is different build, a little longer. You do have the volume controls, and it has a detachable cable. It has some LED lights on it that indicate, and it has an ES9218, dual ES9218 chips in it, and it does up to 32,768 and MQA and DSD 256 and all kinds of other things with it, and no problems powering things either, as it has a little bit more power to it. It has 110 milliwatts at 32 ohms and 340 milliwatts balanced at 32 ohm. And I found that the FC4 is the best dongle that I have come across when it comes to planar IEMs. Now, are you still going to get the best presentation out of a planar IEM? No, it still is not as good as going to a desktop. but it is the best sounding planar IEM dongle source, in my opinion. It has good power, and will give you a presentation that's near close to being on desktop. And when it comes to comparing the two in sound, they're pretty close. The Moondrop Dawn does do a little bit better resolving, a little bit better in presenting details and notes and stuff in a more defined, more crystallized, edged, more accurate way. Whereas the FC4 does have a slightly rounded and smooth presentation, just a little bit slightly behind the Dawn when it comes to resolution. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. Good bass power, nice authority, punchy. Mids have a nice natural tone to them. And unless you really, really put on your critical listening ears, you're more than likely not going to be able to hear that difference. The FC4 does cost $100, so it comes in at $30 more, but you get more features and more power, so it kind of depends on what you're looking for. And then going up to the Shanling UA3. Now, the Shanling UA3 is a very unique device. It has the effect, Edict player app, and you can change all kinds of settings and fiddle around with that. And so you get that, plus you get a different DAC chip. You get the AK4493 SEQ, and power wise it has 211 milliwatts at 32 ohms, so not as powerful, and it has all of the music sources that you want, DSD and all that. Doesn't do MQA, and sound wise, I found that the UA3 is a little bit more brittle. Now, it still does a good job, but it has a little bit more sparkle and energy up top, and it can get into moments of sibilance and hotness. Just kind of rare, but they are there. And then the note weight and density isn't quite as natural as it is on the FC4 and on the Dawn. I don't mind the UA3, but it's not my favorite sound. And then the Hidizs S9 Pro. Now, the Hidizs S9 Pro definitely is the smallest one and the kind of coolest looking one of them all. This one has the AK4493 SEQ DAC also, and it has dual Rycore RT6863 headphone amplifiers in it. And it does all the bit rates and all that kind of stuff, so you don't have to worry about all that. Does not do MQA, but it does all the DSD stuff that you would want. And it has the RGB sampling lights and all that kind of stuff like the other ones do. And it has 200 milliwatts on balanced. Single-ended is 100 milliwatts. So again, it's not the most powerful. One thing of difference is it's 2.5 instead of 4.4. So you got 3.5 and 2.5 outputs. I like the S9 Pro. In my opinion, it does sound better than the UA3. It's a little bit behind the Dawn and the FC4 when it comes to detail retrieval and resolution. But overall, it has a nice tone. It has very good bass, mids, and treble control, and everything sounds natural and accurate. It's just not quite as good at detail retrieval and resolution. It's just a step behind. Now, the S9 Pro does come in at $120, so it is more expensive. It is a cool design, though, and smaller, a little bit longer of a cable. And I'm sure that this one will get discussed more often, as it recently just came into the office, and I haven't had a lot of time with it. So, all of these, how would I rank them as far as my preference for listening? Dawn, FC4, S9 Pro, UA3. But they're all very enjoyable. And I would listen to all three of them. I just prefer them in that order. Power-wise, depending on what I'm using them to drive, the FC4, then the Dawn, then the S9 Pro, and the UA3. Dongles, especially balanced dongles, are they worth it? Kind of depends on what you're driving. Kind of future-proofs you for different IEMs. You do have to be careful though. Some things do not like being run on balance, don't need to be run on balance, so you'll have some impedance problems because of the higher outputs. Overall though, they all sound good, and they all upgrade the sound from not having a headphone jack on your phone, or more than likely it would be an upgrade based on having a headphone jack on your phone, which tend not to be the greatest. So, in conclusion, get a dongle. It will change your experience for your IEM listening. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, check those off and check out the links and all that kind of stuff. And then don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And check out the links down below. There's all kinds of information, especially where you can purchase the products that were mentioned today. And also music lists and gear recommendations and a tier list and all kinds of other things are down below. So check out those links. And then don't forget to, if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the links down there. Also, there's ways that you can contact the channel and follow the channel, support the channel through YouTube memberships, which there's a link here somewhere on the screen. And then also you can join through Patreon. Don't forget to enjoy the music, and honesty is the best policy.